Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, we're going to be talking about why you shouldn't be summoning on the Silverwolf banner or summoning for Silverwolf in general. We'll also be doing a follow-up video on this talking about the reasons you should summon for Silverwolf. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. It'll come out like maybe in a couple days from when this video comes out. So if you want like the insight on both sides, then drop a follow maybe and you'll see when that video comes out and you'll get both sides of why you should and why you shouldn't summon. So yeah, in today's video, we're going to talk about why you shouldn't summon for Silverwolf. I think the biggest reason on why you shouldn't summon for Silverwolf is probably the banner itself. The banner itself is not too great. So as far as what the banner has on it, it has Silverwolf obviously. It also has Asta on it. It has Serval on it, and then finally it has Danny on it as well. We're going to basically talk about all their Eidolons and kind of what they do and what roles they fit in teams. And why this banner is just kind of meh, to be honest with you. Also, something else I should mention before hopping into this video is really only meant for like free-to-play players and very light spenders of the game. So if you're a whale, then this video is definitely not for you, big dog. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about probably the best character on the banner first, which is Asta. And the reason I say Asta is the best character on the banner is really because of her Eidolons. You can get really good Eidolons for her super early versus Serval and Danny, where their better Eidolons come like midway through and towards the end of their Eidolon tree. And just as a quick breakdown for what Asta does, if you don't know what she does already, basically she bounces a fire attack between multiple enemies, and for every different enemy she hits, she's going to be giving an attack buff to the team. This is obviously going to depend on what your talent level is at. And her ultimate's also going to be increasing the speed for the whole team by 40, which is super good. As far as her Eidolons now, her Eidolon 1 or E1 is really good. It's basically going to allow her skill to bounce one more time. This means you could potentially get one more stack up if you needed it. Also, this can help for shield breaks quite a bit because Asta is honestly really good for shield breaking the enemies. So yeah guys, E1 is just really good for shield breaking. This can also come in clutch if you're needing that buff and you're facing multiple enemies. E2 is actually going to be really goated as well because after you use her ultimate, her charging stacks will not be reduced in the next turn. And the charging stacks are basically her talent, the things that's giving you the attack up. So if you use her ultimate, then these are not going to go away, meaning you can use her normal basic attack next turn. These won't go away, and that means you will still retain your attack buff for the whole team for the next turn. I think E4 is probably going to be the best one for her because this is going to increase her energy regeneration rate by 15% when she has 2 or more charging stacks. And getting 2 or more charging stacks is actually not too bad, just because of the fact if you attacked an enemy that's weak against fire, which that's where you'd want to use her at, you're going to get 2 stacks regardless of anything else you do. So you're basically going to have a full uptime of energy regeneration rate. This even applies to using her normal attack as well. She'll always have this energy regeneration rate, which means you'll always have that speed. And finally, E6 is going to reduce the amount of charging stacks you lose per turn by 1. This is really good just for stacking up some charging stacks just overall, especially if you're attacking an enemy weak to fire type. That means in about 4 turns, you can almost literally have a max buff for your whole team with this alone. I mean, this one's good, but I do think the number 4 is the best. I think second best is E2 right here. These are pretty close to each other, honestly. Honestly, all of our Eidolons are just really cracked and really good. So honestly, you probably shouldn't have to go too far to get 1 and 2 here. Either of these work really good. But with Asta out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Serval next. It's a basic breakdown of what Serval does. Basically, her skill is going to attack multiple enemies. She's going to target one main enemy, and then she's going to hit enemies adjacent to that enemy. And this is going to have a chance to actually shock these enemies, which is lightning DOT equal to her attack. Her ultimate's going to attack all enemies, and it's going to increase the amount of shock duration that they're under. And finally, if the enemy is shocked, you're going to be dealing an additional 46% of Serval's attack to all shocked enemies if you attack the enemy. And this right here is just super good. Hopping into her Eidolons now, E1 I mean is decent because it attacks multiple enemies on the basic attack. So, I mean that's okay. It's not really applying any shock effect. It just gives her more damage out of her normal attack. E2 is decent as well because it's going to regenerate 4 extra energy for yourself whenever you're using her talent, meaning when the enemy is shocked and you're dealing damage to that enemy, she's going to get 4 extra energy. Though the enemies do have to be shocked for you to activate this, meaning there is a stipulation behind actually using this. So if they have a really high debuff resist, that means this is not going to work too well for you. E4 is going to apply a shock 100% free of charge whenever you use the ultimate. This is just really affecting the base chance, meaning if they do have a super high debuff resist rate, this is not going to apply shock, but this will apply shock using the ultimate. And then finally, this is the best one. This is the one that is goated. This is the one that you want right here. E6. Serval deals 30% more damage to shocked enemies. This right here makes her really goated with a sauce, but the fact that you have to go all the way to E6 to get her best Eidolon is just kind of crazy. crazy, kind of cooked, and no free-to-play player is probably going to hit this. And finally, as far as the final 4-star on the banner, we're going to talk about Danny Boy here. Let's go ahead and talk about his skills now really quick. He is a win single target damage dealer, which is honestly pretty decent because we don't really have many of those. I mean, I guess Sampo, but I mean, I think he's going to deal more damage than Sampo is. I don't know. Sampo is really good at breaking shields. Anyways, that's besides the point. With his skill, he's going to be targeting a single enemy, and on a crit hit, there's a 100% base chance to reduce the target speed by 12%. Now, this is going to play into his ultimate, which as far as what his ultimate does, he'll be dealing damage to a single target again. If the enemy is slowed, it's going to increase that damage multiplier by 81%, which is really huge, but you do need to hit a crit on the enemy to have a chance at reducing the target speed. Like I said, this is only a base chance, meaning if the debuff resist is high, then it might not proc. This kind of plays into the talent as well, because when he's a target of an ally's ability, meaning if Japard puts a shield on the whole team, he's going to be activating this. He's going to be increasing his resistance penetration by 21%. And what resist penetration means is he's going to be dealing direct damage to the enemy, basically nullifying any type of defensive stat that they would have had, and this is going to increase it by 21% for 2 turns. Now let's talk about Danny Boy's Eidolons here. E1 here, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it works. Basically, what it does is when the target enemy is 50% or higher, the crit rate's going to be increased by 12%. It's not really that much of a crit rate increase, and it's also very, very hard stipulation on this that the enemy has to be over 50% HP. So when you get down to the nitty-gritty near the end of battles, this is really just not going to help you that much. E2 is going to be reducing the talent's cooldown by 1 turn, which I mean, it's okay, but it's not like game breaking, game changing, or anything like that. I mean, it's just okay. His E4 is going to make him really, really strong actually. When Dan Heng uses his ultimate to defeat an enemy, his next action is going to be advanced forward by 100%, meaning when he uses his ultimate, he's going to come back to the field, meaning this kind of makes him like a mini Azila in a way. Whenever he uses the ultimate, he comes back to attack again. Finally, his E6 is the slow state is triggered by a skill, reduces the enemy speed by an extra 8%. I mean, this is not really too much to brag home about. I think his really only good, like really, really good Eidolon is E4, and for this reason, it's just kind of hard to, you know, want to summon for him because you need E4. That's a long way to go, and all the other Eidolons are just okay or not that good at best. So yeah. Alright guys, let's go ahead and talk about one of the shortcomings that I could potentially see for summoning, like just for Silverwolf herself now, and that is if you don't have like 2 DPS units. 2 DPS units, that's what you're focusing on as far as dealing damage and Memory of Chaos and stuff like that. If you don't have 2 good DPS units, then you're not going to be able to beat that, and I don't think that Silverwolf's going to provide that DPS for you. So that would be the only reason I would steer away from Silverwolf if you don't have 2 DPS units. I just don't think she's that good of a pull if you don't have that already. Like I said, Serval, if you want her to be one of your DPS, she needs to be E6. Danny, you probably need E4 before he becomes like a really good and viable DPS unit. So I mean, like overall, it might be better to hold off for Kafka if you're needing a DPS unit, because she's going to provide some DPS for the team. She's an agility character. I think that she's going to be mainly focused on DPS. So as far as my overall thoughts, guys, on this banner, I mean, the reasons you shouldn't summon her is the banner itself. The banner is just really not that good, and that's not for the lack of the characters being like super bad. Like the characters are okay on the banner. Asta definitely being the best 4-star there. It's the fact that you have to get their Eidolons so high, or get a lot of Eidolons and dupes for them to actually make them super, super good. Asta being the only exception to that rule, and honestly, the banner for this, and honestly Locha's too, is not really that good value. So I mean, for those reasons, that's why I would say not to summon for Silverwolf. But guys, like I said, we're going to have another video on why you should summon for Silverwolf, talking about all the pros with this, basically playing both sides of it, good and bad. So if you guys want to see that, please stick around and maybe drop a sub on the channel so you get the notification when that gets uploaded. Anyways guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope everyone enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Later. Bye-bye.